thing under that, actually turn it to the right. There you go.
Tell us how to use canvas.
Watch the bubble, then turn it to the left. About, yeah.
Coming in here, telling us how to do it. Alright, the menu's on now.
And formatting the card. Cheers! You're probably wondering why we're dressed all so fancy and like. Well, it's our Christmas and New Year special. And we've got our very special guest here, Johnny.
Yay! Hi!
Thanks, Josh. And we'll be playing a unique two-parter game, very much like our Halloween special if you haven't already seen it. So get your 1850 ceremonial glasses on, raise a glass of champagne, and have a great time.
Cheers.
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 So Johnny doesn't have to cut anyone's face, and you can't make him.
Yeah. So last week, the party wrapped up some business in Blackmire and decided to get their revenge on by going to Lumbergost. In amongst the crowd, Chad managed to spot one of his former enemies and nemesis, the half-elf that he tied up in Akaran's library, who subsequently robbed him. Chad started setting fire to the ropes that was suspending the big dome in the middle of the village, and bears...
Beats.
Parter summoned two brown bears. After he was mugged, they brutally mauled his assailants, whilst Pip was running around touching people, hoping they'd go to sleep. As it all winded down to a close, Parter sent the bear into the dome in the middle of the town, as Mike also shuffled her way in. At that point, the structure was weakened, and a huge crack was heard as the dome in the middle of the village split open and a 5-headed dragon emerged. And that's where we will start this episode. So now that's over, it's ready to roll over and die.
Got your souls and you got your invisible one. It's D&D.
Isn't Alice's hair amazing?
No.
Oh,
Thank you. You have nice headband.
You sound like Aya then. And you have nice headbands.
Right, okay, so flashback. So we'll start the episode slightly differently than what we usually do. We'll go to a flashback. So 5 minutes earlier. Inside the dome, a cacophony of cheering from the gathered attendees echoes around the chamber as an unfortunate prisoner was shredded by large jaws of a slick dark green beast. Beren, watching from the sidelines in his disguise, watching the door and the prisoner cage for any kind of opening to rescue his brother. At this point, screams were heard from the entrance of the dome as a bear bundled its way in and started tearing people up. This caused about half of the crowd to rush over to one side of the dome to escape this savage beast, and a huge creaking and a cracking sound as the dome itself split in half, ripping the cage in two, releasing this giant beast, which immediately started eating each other, all of the attendees around. Half of the roof started collapsing in. You just got a split second to gather yourself up and run out of the door. As you make your way for the exit, you look over your shoulder and you see the prisoner cage where your brother is located. Parts of the roof starts falling on it. All they can do really is hunker into one corner, hoping that the iron bars will protect them from the falling debris. As you look back round, you see a very pale-skinned person crawling on their belly with two daggers in their hand with a big smile on their face, like trying to crawl into the dome as it's all collapsing. So there's a giant 5-headed beast behind you, this smiling creature in front of you. Now, you might have actually noticed this person before. As you were hoping to make an opportunity of the sort of distraction that's happening outside, you noticed that these 5 people and their 3 creatures rocked into town and just started killing people, like almost indiscriminately, which normally is a bad thing, but you know that the Lumbergostians, from personal experience and just in general, are pretty terrible people. And Aya, who's the sort of 6.5 foot tall Asimar, made a beeline for one of the worst of them and just caved their skull in. So you know this person to be one of those 5. Doesn't look like she's aware of what's going on inside at this point. So it's up to you to take it away. What would you like to do?
It's quite a situation.
What a question.
I think you would be our friend, right?
Yeah.
a good
think so.
guy.
I think I'm basically going to wander home and go, you fallen?
Is he holding any drinks or anything?
That's up to you.
Are
I mean, you
holding-
are in disguise at the moment, so
Oh,
you could
yeah.
be doing anything. You could have a weapon out, you could have food, drinks, you could
Yeah,
even have a person that you're chatting to.
Let's say I am posing as like an itinerant ale seller, so
Sure.
I've got like a little demi cask here with a tap, and just sort of like chained to that is a little cup.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stand up and... Thanks. You're the first person that started speaking to us today. And
Okay.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
still holding my daggers.
Yeah.
You know that we're not with you, so you just said us like like a maniac.
You're my friends. I talk about us collectively.
from the looks of things, I'm the first person you've not tried to kill today, so I can't really blame them.
The day is still early.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's this giant screech in the background, not more than 80 feet behind the two of you as you're casually chatting in the entrance to this dome. As this thing, these 5 heads are just piercing down like spears and just shredding people as it's breaking out of this domed cage that's in the center of this dome.
I'm Mike, right?
Yes. Correct.
After 25 episodes.
I could be Joanne.
Oh, yeah.
Or anyone else.
I'm just looking around and just...
Yeah.
I find everything really funny, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. The
Just
dome
so
is
you know,
also
your friend.
collapsing underneath your feet. I feel like I haven't
Sounds
really
fun.
given the danger how immediate this situation is right now.
Having a bit of a chat.
As you're the first person that started speaking to me,
Yeah.
and you don't seem to be trying to kill me,
Mhm.
you've politely given me your drink
Yeah.
out of your hands. I say we pick up more drink and we run out of here.
I was going to say it's getting quite hairy back there. Yeah, we should probably get a wiggle on. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I need more. You pick up. Let's go.
I kind of look back over my shoulder. I'm like, that probably is the best way to go. Yeah. I was like, okay, fine.
As you look over your shoulder, just there's a indiscriminate human just being torn in half, either side of him falling out of this slavering jaws of this beast.
Bad things.
I get a wiggle on a little bit. Yes.
Just run down the ramp.
Yeah.
Everyone's freaking out at this point because out of the top of this dome, like several of the heads are emerging. As you're watching this, some of the ne'er-do-wells in this village stop fleeing, and a few of them band together and start trying to fight back, trying to put this creature into its cage. As they do, a lot of them perish in the venture. A couple of them do actually manage to sever the heads of 2 of the 5 heads. And as they do, only after a few seconds, the stump splits in 2
Oh no.
and then starts growing out of each other until it's got 7 heads in total.
Perfect.
That's 7. That was 6. Now it's 7.
Are they different colours?
No, it's all one dark green, sort of slimy serpentine
Like
heads.
moss?
Not like moss, no, like a snake more.
Do we still have our prisoner? We have a prisoner, by the way.
Did we take him prisoner or did we just murder
We
him?
tied him up.
No, it's
Tied
frozen.
him up
I think we should just leave.
without the prisoner.
He would kill us if we left without the prisoner.
Either kill him or keep him, but I'll let him go.
So you've got the half elf.
I've got the half elf.
Yeah.
I've got the one that I was after.
Yep, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these
But-
2 run into what?
Is Bongo out yet?
So, as you 2 were running out, taking a look over your shoulder, you do see the bear indiscriminately tearing people apart that are trying to run away from the creature, trying to make it towards you and the door and the exit, and this bear just pouncing on people indiscriminately, tearing their arms off until part of the roof collapses in on itself, crushing about a dozen other people and the bear. And as the beams, the heavy wooden beams of the roof hit the bear, it just dissolves into like sort of a light blue
That's so sad.
motes of light.
He's not confident.
There's a chance this is our fault.
There is a No high chance. chance this is our fault.
We should help the people in there.
Should we?
Are
Or
you
is
with
that
us
just
yet?
going to get us killed? Are we with them now?
You're all standing outside, you know, back where you were like picking the fight with the evil dwarf.
Yep.
You're all a good sort of 100 feet away from this structure
Okay.
at this
Did
point.
anyone like a drink?
I think that drink is maybe later.
I'd like you to introduce drunk already of this one pint. Introduce to you our new friend. There's a dragon!
Yeah, my name's Baron, but should we just get this sorted out first and then we can do the niceties and the drinking later?
Have you lived here long, Ben?
Just passing through, actually. I'm going to start sort of shedding my disguise because I feel it's getting in the way of drawing some sort
Yeah.
of weapon.
So
What are you
when you
becoming?
take the so when you take like the barkeep sort of regalia off, what are you wearing underneath?
I am clad, as you might expect a mountain dwarf to be, like beards upon beards upon beards,
Nice.
with like lots of sort of like bits of metal like hammered into it, but also kind of a few like druidic fetishes like stuck in the hair, like. There's like an antler just poking out of one side of it.
Nice.
I look like a mess. I look like I've been dragged through an apothecary's
I
backwards.
feel like
basically.
You look like my kind of person. Baron, I'm Pater. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
That's
terrifying.
terrifying.
That's just the thing he does.
All dwarves are from the same
Bit
place.
Pater.
What should we do?
You have experience. What do you suggest
I
we
was
do?
about to say, can I do some form of knowledge check to see how much I can remember about Hydrakönig?
Yeah, absolutely.
Baron knows,
Yeah.
Johnny don't.
Absolutely. You can roll a nature check.
Oh, perfect.
Are we saying hydraconic or high draconic?
Hide. No. neither of those two.
Draconic.
Well,
How
because
do you
I
think
speak
Hydraconic?
draconic. Is he like a
Oh.
high level draconic?
Oh,
It's
Hydraconic.
HYDRA.
All right. I'm
K.
glad I asked
Like a
before I
hydra.
went up to talk to him.
O umlaut.
You might
I
say
really
NIG.
wish you did.
He
Like
might, still might.
Kuning, the Anglo-Saxon word for king.
Yeah.
I rolled a 17.
17. Yes, you know a reasonable amount about the Hydrakönig.
Quite funny that we should stumble
Did
upon
you-
you.
Does he know about it?
What?
Let me
What
pull up some
exactly do you
info
know
for you
about
all.
it?
Sure.
That's not this.
What do you know about it?
Tell us now.
One moment.
I don't ask.
Hang on, what was that? Ryan?
It's got 7 heads.
So
It eats people.
after observing it for the last 2 or 3 days, you know that it's not only contained within the dome. Sometimes, if they want to vary up their sport, and it is a sport, they just feed its prisoners and then take betting on it, pretty much. Sometimes they'll put in beasts in there as well. Sometimes they'll put in 5 or 6 people. Sometimes they'll try and tie a couple of its heads down to give it more of a disadvantage. And on rare occasions, they'll lead it out into the swamp and make it fight almost underwater. You know, it's quite adept at holding its breath. It has multiple heads. It seems that when it takes any damage, it will regrow another 2 heads from the stump, so it's regenerative. It seems to have, like, by virtue of having multiple heads, it's very, very difficult to take by surprise. It can take on multiple enemies at the same time, and unlike normal hydras, the Hydrakönig does have a what would normally be attributed to dragons, and it has acid breath, which you have witnessed it melting people before.
Nice.
Hasn't used it yet. It seems to be happy enough just to shred people with its own teeth. But you know that it does have this sort of ranged ability if you get close to it, close enough to it. But you do know that there's something back at your uncle's workshop that might help you out.
Of course there is. Right, first thing to know is he's a mean bastard. Eyes everywhere and teeth and claws and all that kind of stuff. We need some heavy artillery. Does anyone fancy a day trip?
Yes.
I would be
We love
right up for
Patriots.
that.
We also hate this place, so is it out of Lumbergost?
Yeah.
Then let's leave.
So we'll come
Let's
back
go.
for the bear and the brother.
And all the
right?
innocent
Yeah.
people dying.
They're probably
They're all
fine.
evil.
They're
They're all
fine.
evil.
I feel like I've had a good look at the dome and we're both to each other like, yeah. We will, yeah. It's going to be fine.
Okay, lead the way.
Okay.
If you want to scope out like how your brother is faring at the moment, you can always try and to get a bit closer. Maybe do a perception check. If you want to get even closer, do an investigation, which would be a lower DC.
Okay.
Or if you're happy, just be like, he's pretty fine. Let's chip off.
He's
Totally up to
probably
you.
fine.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll cross that corpse when we come to it.
Yeah. I think
So-
at this point it's very little you can actually do for him.
I'm going to start leading them to my Uncle Gunter's.
Yes.
Uncle
Um,
Gunter.
Yes.
So here's the thing. I've never actually used what it is we're going for, but it's big and it's mean and it's mechanical, so at least we know it's not just going to kill us on sight. My uncle made it. He disappeared. My brother went looking for him actually, which is then he got taken, and that's here I am. Hello. Yeah, basically it's a big mumping machine, and if we grab it, we might have a chance of smashing that thing and getting back my brother
Sounds like
and the bear.
Bongo.
He's
Right.
definitely-
Oh, is it Bongo?
Bongo.
Is his name?
I'm Bongo.
Do we know that the Hydrakönig is bad? Like, is he evil, or is he just like?
I think he's eating people.
Is he just
so
been like cooped up?
There is one way to tell, for sure.
ask him.
I use my divine sense on the giant, obviously evil dragon.
It's worth checking.
It does ping.
It's
evil.
very friendly.
But do all the
celestial.
heads ping?
It's so.
One of them doesn't. No, it's not true.
Haven't seen
We've
that
just got
one.
to
Rescue
we've got to
the
work out which one to reason with.
Exactly.
Sort of clip the rest off, prune it down until you get a nice one.
Do the heads represent any colours?
The whole
No.
thing is it doesn't have any wings. First of all, the body is less shaped like a draconic being and more like a crocodile. Its head's are serpentine, and it's a very, very dark green. It looks quite slimy or slippery.
Does Costas react to it at all?
No, Costas just unnervingly stays very still until commanded to do anything with its cold, dead, burning eyes.
Oh, by the way, I have a crocodile as a pet.
Cool.
Yeah. So until now, it hasn't moved. You just assumed it was either like some kind of giant burnt timber, but it is 18 feet long.
It's also burning, right?
Yeah. And in between all of its scales, there is this dull orange glow. Like it's inside, it's just filled with a churning magma.
It eats my people.
He's not that
I
cool.
To be fair,
sometimes feed
it's-
it weapons.
Any people. And it is currently still finishing off the shoe of a dwarf.
Oh, about
Your
that,
brother.
that's not personal.
It's completely personal.
That's very reassuring. I mean,
He
I,
was
did,
very evil.
I literally didn't say anything. I didn't know him.
I didn't know.
Right then, I'm going.
So Uncle Gunter's.
Indeed. So he doesn't live too far away. It's going to take you sort of the better part of 3 or 4 hours to walk your way across the swampland to where your Uncle Gunter lives a fairly isolated life. He didn't like a lot of people spying in on his work. It's also the reason why he entrusted you to the keys of his workshop. But it was the better part of like curiosity that allowed you to, didn't allow you to, but encouraged you to find the secret basement.
Okay, so I feel like we're sort of like approaching. It's got a big like prison warden style ring of keys. I'm sort of just spinning on my finger and be like, now when we get in there, you might get a few notions about Uncle Gunter. He's not a bad man. He's one of those preppers. You know, he's always saving for an apocalyptic day, which in this instance is going to be quite useful. But just he is weird. Just don't poke around too much. And anyway, I just kind of unlock the front door and I try and lead them to the basement quite quickly, so they just sort of don't get too much of a sense of what Uncle Gunter's like. So I feel like hermetic, probably a bit.
Definitely, yeah.
A bit weird.
The whole building itself is like leaning to one side. It looks very like constructed by someone that has a different approach to architecture than most other people do. Like rooms and windows and doors are in odd places. Seem to make sense to him at the time, but like really are not that ergonomical. So you'll open up like a door and there'll just be a very tiny room and then an immediate other door that will lead you around a corner. It's almost like a labyrinthine style, and there's a bunch of like quite macabre like stuffed animals and objet d'art that adorns the walls and the floors and the ceiling, just things nailed all over any kind of surfaces. There's also drawings like on parchment everywhere. Very much looks like he's whenever he gets kind of an idea, he'll just start writing it down.
He reminds me of a good friend.
Yeah. But this one's a lot more methodical. Like he's got like a bunch of finished designs and things will like go on for a long, long time. Like he's had a inspiration has just written like these huge diatribes on. It wasn't even just inventions either. It would be like political theories and machinations of the world, and you know,
Anything that
like
jumps out?
rudimentary genetics and stuff like that.
Anything that we can pocket that's going to help us later on. I mean,
We're not going to steal from your uncle.
is it,
We are.
You don't know us.
I
You
might.
can't get us.
Say this to him. You don't know me.
Veroni's
help
trying to
you
usher
kill your
you
brother, okay?
specifically so you don't like
Okay.
try and get anything. So what I'd say is roll an intelligence check with disadvantage because you're being ushered very, very quickly through this house. 3. Yeah, as you're looking at things like you're barely able to read like half a sentence before you just get the whole group is getting like fed through all of these corridors and bizarre
I'm going to
rooms.
lean into Chad and just be like, Chad, I don't got a good feeling about this. Do you think he's got lemon tart?
I don't think this is the right place for lemon tart.
Make me feel better, though.
Can I like look around
Yeah,
to just see if I see anything
Lemony?
lemony?
is it specifically lemons you're looking for?
No,
You
will
find
give you
a
a lemon
lemon.
no. Like, are there designs and stuff on the wall?
Yeah,
Can I
all over the
see
place.
if I get any sense of what our new friend is taking us to?
Yeah, sure.
The
You can get like an
mechanical
overall sense.
machine?
Roll
Yeah.
an insight check as you're
I'm
absorbing all of
antsy.
this.
I want to know if we're walking into a trap. Sorry.
Yeah, roll an insight check.
Okay.
As you're absorbing all of this.
I'm
On your
holding his
journey
tail
through.
as well.
3.
3.
Get
Uh,
holding his tail.
You feel pretty chill right now.
Potter. I don't think there's any lemons.
I'm just holding his tail,
It's bigger than that.
playing with the end of it.
Like a joystick.
It's much bigger
That's
than
why I was
that.
distracted. That's why I couldn't tell what was going on.
That's why you feel
It's
soothed.
like this.
Ah.
That's nothing right.
I smack your hand away.
Yeah. That's something this.
Yeah, but he's leading us in front. We've been left alone. It's discomforting.
Will you roll the Constitution saving throw?
Oh, sorry. You're fine.
Yeah, 15.
Okay.
Plus
Tries to
whatever.
smack your hand away, skin on skin, but nothing happens.
What little
Skin
things that are on
skin.
the wall? They're creatures that are on the wall.
There are some. There's like some taxidermy style like creatures. There's bones, like dried skin as well, sort of pulled out there.
Talk to me about the bone stuff.
What would you like to know about the bones?
What are they?
There's a jaw of a giant sea creature like mounted on the wall. There's also very intricate like that look like some kind of vermin that's been put on a mantelpiece and like reassembled together. And there's some things that look like they have been like, laid out on a piece of parchment, glued or stapled or tied, however. Kind of creatures that shouldn't be together that have been placed together to make a new creature.
Your
that
uncle's a
kind of
bit freaky.
Your uncle is not right in the head.
This is pretty cool.
I did warn you.
Let's just get into this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to what is near the chimney stack.
The chimney
That's my favourite.
So near where the chimney is, where the majority of the stone is in this place, there is a very heavy iron-bound wooden door with multiple locks all the way down it. So you get your ring of jailer's keys out and you start like, unlocking each one by one. There's about 6 or 7 different locks all down here. The last one, there you have 2 keys that you have to put in and turn in the opposite directions at like sort of half a second interval, and then you start turning it, and you can feel the whole door like grinding as this big giant mechanism inside is releasing it.
I feel like I'm doing that so no one can see. Like I'm putting in my dwarven pin number.
Roll
peering over
a
his shoulder.
sleight of hand check.
All right. Uh-oh.
We're just peering
Yep,
over his
good.
shoulder.
Yeah.
That's a 3.
He rolls
Yes,
like
it's
us.
Episode of 3.
We are
Yeah,
friends.
so you do like as you're trying to protect it from one of them, like you've just completely given quite a good field of vision to everybody else.
It feels like I'm narrating it now. I'm like, turn this one.
1,
Now
2,
we go.
3, go.
So this is the unlocking song.
Yeah. And then this, as it starts to swing open on very well oiled hinges, there is like a pressure change as well. You can feel like this cold air rushing up from inside as well. Yeah, it kind of sends a shiver down all of your collective spines. Not for you,
Collective
you down here. Yeah. It is quite familiar for you as well. Like dwarves love being underground. This has got that very much like a subterranean feel to it. It's very comforting for dwarves in general, and you specifically because it reminds you of your uncle. There is a sconce just inside that has a torch unlit inside it.
Mm.
So if any of you that don't have dark vision, you might want to grab one of those.
I'll grab one.
Okay, you use your druidcraft to light it as Pimp reaches for it. It just kind of goes off in your hand.
Did I do that?
Yes, Pat.
Yeah.
I told you were magic.
Thank you. I am. You don't have to tell me that.
Yeah, she literally does have magic. So you make your way down the stairs. So again, you've been down here before. So think it's like classic stone-worked dungeon,
Oh yeah.
but in sort of a Dr. Frankenstein feel. So down here there is a bunch of like machinery down here that you've never seen before. Like machinery is not that prevalent in the Mistfield. Certainly not in the last sort of 2,000 years after the Cataclysm happened. Like a lot of that knowledge was lost. But down here, it looks like he's gathered a lot of ancient like tomes and books and scrolls and so forth to really sort of like revive this kind of machinery, this kind of like tech renaissance down here in this basement. And you see off to one corner there is a table on a singular sort of like pylon off to one side, and it has this big dust sheet over it. And it's probably about 6.5 feet long, this figure. The table itself is about 7.5 feet long, about 3 feet wide.
I run ahead of everyone and I pull the dust sheet off.
As you pull it off, there is this skeletal structure that has machinery, but also what looks like biological parts woven into it. It's missing a bunch of sort of like parts to the exterior, but looks like it's mostly complete. It looks about 95% of the way there. But it is this giant mechanical being that has these organic parts to it, laying motionless on the table.
I just turn around and I point it.
I cast Good Berry, so I just suddenly, like a fistful of berries disappeared in my hand. I'm
Seems
like,
appropriate moment.
would anybody like a good berry?
Yes.
I'm alright.
Yeah.
Give out some good berries.
I feel like it's needed, especially for him.
Yeah.
Anyone would like one, you can restore 1 hit point per good berry that you eat.
I'd love a good berry.
Also, I should have mentioned on the way here, you could have also spent a short rest. So you could do your arcane recovery, you can spend hit dice to recover your hit
We
points, that kind of thing.
Sounds like you have it.
So you can click short rest on your sheets. So as you're doing that, describe the figure. The figure is interestingly painted. It's despite some of the coverings that are missing, most of it has been sort of painted from the waist down black, and then from the waist up, its arms up to its neck, in what looks like a very regal military outfit. So it's bright red. It's got these gold like bolts on the front of it that has been coloured gold. And then on its face, there's been a handlebar moustache drawn onto it, which is very reminiscent of your great uncle, your uncle's father, who was in the Hayward Hussars back in the 1700s. And it looks like it's been made as a sort of an effigy of him in a way.
Weird effigy.
Yeah. Though obviously your great uncle was a dwarf, this thing has been made in his image almost.
Mm.
Do you want to tell us about this?
It's hard.
Hits hard.
It's
How
hard.
does it work?
You think hits hard or it's art?
Both.
It's hard.
It's art.
I don't really know how it works, but I know it will, and then we can, list to that thing, and then
Do you have a plan for how we can use it?
must be a manual somewhere.
Can we look for
We can put them on a disc and float them all the way back to
And then what?
Lumbergost.
what, lying down, lying down on the ground?
Yeah, and then
Hope for the
you
best?
give them a berry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Does it look
do
like
it.
it has any sort of like controls?
It doesn't look like it has controls, but if you look around, you do see diagrams and like papers on its construction. And there is a diary as well next to it on the bench, and it details sort of about 200 to 300 days worth of work on this mechanical being. And the last entry was about 10 days ago, so about 30 days ago, before your uncle set off. And it details like he's almost finished. He can't really decide on what the finishing tweaks are going to be. So he said it can either be an envoy, so something that is well skilled and personable to act as a ambassador for peace, or it could be a juggernaut, something that is very strong physically, or it can be the other one, skirmisher. There we go. Something that's very skirmisher. Something that's very dexterous and lithe and good at ranged. And so you've got these remaining parts off to one side, categorized as envoy, skirmisher, and dwarf, and juggernaut.
What do you think would be most useful against this 7-headed Hydra?
Oh, definitely a negotiator. Yeah.
Cool.
No, probably the juggernaut. I don't know.
So, Juggernaut, Peacekeeper, and what?
So it was an
Skirmisher.
envoy, a juggernaut, and a skirmisher.
Does it have a name?
It does. You'll know what the name is. It's written in Dwarven above it.
Yes.
Mechanical Flesh Boy.
Santa.
Did I write this
Flesh
down?
boy.
Maybe
Claw.
Flesh Boy. Definitely not Flesh Boy.
Don't
I
try
call
and...
him Flesh Boy.
So you can see these different parts are all laid out. There's like a crossbow arm attachment for the skirmisher. One of the arms of the juggernaut aspect is like a giant battle axe for one hand, and the envoy one is got like this sort of brain augmentation to it and voice box that you can plug into it. And written above it is. Did you find it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So written in Dwarvish above it is Colonel Chip.
That's the one.
Shit.
Obviously.
Yes.
What about Colonel Chip? I was about to say Baron too, just to kind of
That too.
Not even junior. 2.
Just do.
Ooh.
I think murder is the only way to get us out of this situation.
Murder is never a good thing, Pep. I've told you before.
So take your own advice.
You know
I
it's
also
evil,
agree
so
that
That's
murder would be good in this situation.
As much as I would like to see a robot negotiate with a dragon, I know this dragon is evil, and so I think we should destroy it.
But if it has an axe for a hand, won't it just make more heads? Like, is there a
That's true.
limit to how many heads?
That's true.
If we cut them all off, is it just a
Would
Ball
you
of
rather
heads?
have 100 horse-sized... No.
heads?
100 duck-sized horses or
One.
a horse-sized
One.
duck?
Carter, we have not got time for that riddles now.
I have a breakdown thinking about it.
Okay, how are we going to kill it with this thing?
I could try and turn into him
And then what?
And get them what?
and talk. We could be friends.
So
and
you become the negotiator.
I think...
You
Yeah.
talking to anyone ends in murder anyway, so
You
It's
could turn
not
into
true.
it and then try to woo it.
That's you.
That's my suggestion.
We seduce the dragon.
Yeah. Let's go seduce this Hydra with Flesh Boy.
If it was a negotiator, how would it negotiate?
With
the brain
brain
attachment.
hand.
Just punch it.
Yeah.
You know that as an envoy, it's isn't just reliant on like charisma and its ability to talk as well. It's also very skillful, and so there are multiple integrations on that bench which you can install into it. So there's like an arm kind of like integration that has a bunch of thieves' tools in it, so it can fold its hands away and use thieves' tools to like open locks and stuff like that.
Have
But there's
you
also other ones as well.
Have you seen the Colonel in action before?
No,
No.
What about Flesh Boy?
not seen Flesh Boy.
All right. Okay.
Just as well.
Could we ask your uncle, Baron Junior,
He's
Senior,
missing.
Baron Senior?
No, he's very much missing. That's how we got into this pickle.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like his uncle Gunther
Yeah.
is the one that disappeared
Uncle.
30 days ago.
Yeah.
And so has left the workshop under Baron's control.
If we attach a hand, can we detach it and put another one on?
It looks like these are the final sort of parts to this. So that's the reason why your uncle kind of stopped at this point. He couldn't really decide on which way you wanted to go,
Do you
knowing
have
that this would be the
anything
final integration.
No.
Maybe we should
No.
flip a coin.
I think we just pick one
Are there
and hope for the best.
If dip.
Are there any more tables with sheets on them?
This seems to be the only sheeted table.
Hmm.
There are multiple tables here.
If only there were 100 more of these.
Once we choose of the three,
Yes.
how do we then switch him?
Why don't you roll an investigation check?
You want to turn
That's where I stopped. That's
Flash
where I
Boy
stopped.
arm?
10. That's where I stopped.
All right, yeah. Right.
You don't know the specifics, but it does look like the journal has been written in such a way that you could probably follow the remaining instructions. There is probably some nominal checks that some of you need to roll to see how well this thing operates once you can finalize the construction. So its ability to fight or to negotiate or to be a skirmisher will be dependent on all of your rolls.
I'm not great at following
No.
instructions, hence why I lost my job.
Yeah.
So the only one that I know that can lead well, I hand to Aya.
Okay.
Say, I hope you can help.
I
take it very
have the
personally.
lowest intelligence of the group, I think. I'll be honest. You're just supposed to be the leader. Already
I don't tell anybody anything about what I'm about to learn.
Go for it. Investigation check.
No.
You'll know nothing. Neither will I. An 8.
Yeah. So you're so
I'm just going to pass it back.
so cautious about anyone looking at what you're reading. You've put it so narrow that you can't read anything yourself.
Me, having no memories and no knowledge of this world, will try and
Roll the 20.
investigate this thing. It's a natural 1, and that makes sense in every world. So.
Yeah.
Can you pass it?
You immediately just
Maybe your inherent knowledge of this family will help.
you might be the most intelligent person here.
I
Based
think
on your stats.
Is it an investigation check?
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, we all just hold up a limb and walk with it back.
So 17.
Yeah,
There we
you
go.
can easily follow your maybe it was on Dwarvish. Maybe that's why having
Yes.
that
I was
particular.
reading it upside down.
It's definitely in common. But,
Thank you all. That was hilarious. Right.
yeah, you can follow these instructions relatively well. It looks like you'll need someone that's got either a good nature or medicine ability. You'll need someone that's got a good arcana ability, and someone that's got a good athletics. So someone to build it, someone to infuse it with magic, and someone to integrate the biological parts with the mechanical.
Okay.
So there'll be 3 skill checks.
I'm playing with one of the hands. There we go.
Turn that into a puppet.
Yeah.
Stick with me on this one. I think that thing out there is a big brute. I've seen it fight. I think we need to fight it smart. I say we go for the skirmisher.
Okay.
Smart. You
I
think
agree.
you can fight smart?
I think you're our only hope.
It's worth a go. It's worth a go. Okay, so I guess I started interpreting the things, and it was nature first, wasn't it?
So it will be athletics first,
Oh, sorry, athletics
then
first.
nature, then arcana.
Okay.
Pretty sure done in order.
Is anyone here particularly, quick on their feet, good at? Flipping.
Please let the
Yeah.
lizard do it before he said it.
I do flips and stuff. Lift things.
Yeah.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
better at Arcana.
Right. Here are some instructions. I
Yeah.
interpret the
So
door.
you're going for the skirmisher.
Yes.
So you pick up the arm attachment that's got the crossbow on it. It's also got additional leg augmentations to.
I know legs.
Yeah, you do know legs. Constant leg day.
Yes.
Always doing the lunge.
I've seen those.
So you basically just need to pick up these giant sort of thick thighs and plug them into the torso where they need to go, and attach
Very
the
familiar.
So there you
Yes.
go. So roll your athletics check.
Giant thick thighs.
Oh man, 9.
We rolled
Is that what you
No.
said?
I know, I'm rolling really bad. Did I switch the left and the right leg on accident?
Sure.
You don't
Why
pick
would
up
you
the
want
leg.
to do that?
I don't.
Why would you want to
I
do
was going to be a little bit kinder, but that sounds great.
I mean, it's thick, but it's not dummy thick.
No, you don't swap them around. You know, at least with the 9, that's enough to
good.
You know
not
your left
swap
and right.
the legs around.
It was a close call there, though.
But perhaps it wasn't the most finesse way you could have done it. You pretty much just push them together and just crunch. There's some sickening squealing of
Mashy.
metal and the crunch as you just push the legs into the socket. But they're in. Now we need to do a nature check.
You can throw
I
it.
have a -1 nature.
Swallowed it. Mr. Nature at your service.
Mr. Nature.
I'll be
So you want to do a nature or a medicine check? Up to you.
I'm gonna go medicine check.
What is
Okay.
your medicine?
I
8.
think
Oh,
you
okay.
should do your
Yeah.
medicine. Yeah.
So this will be how to integrate the biological circuits with the mechanical augmentations that you've just inserted onto it. So you pretty much just need to wire everything in.
But there's flesh on it, right?
Yeah.
So am I a little bit squeamish on
Why
it?
does that matter?
Well, the actual like the sinew and the muscle and so forth are not like organic. They are biological, but they're like more mechanical. How'd you get
Oh
on?
no.
I'm gonna use lucky.
Okay,
Probably for the better.
mark that off.
You rolled a 2.
What did you
That's
do?
what I rolled.
That's
I
really
rolled a
fucking
natural
weird.
20.
Yeah.
That counts. It
Was
was
it-
a natural 20.
Was
Yeah,
it in the
it
tray
was.
though?
Yes.
It is now.
Fine. 28 then. Okay. So Parter, with his with his nimble fur-bulk fingers, is able to like manipulate the tendons and plug them into the various mechanical parts of this automaton, and everything seems to like fit very nicely. It's got full free range of movement now. It seems to all the synapses seem to be firing off correctly. Everything seems to be like nice integrated. Now we need to do a final thing. We need to infuse it with some magic to get the whole thing up and running. Who's going to do an Arcana check?
Arcana.
My
I've got
Arcana's
+4.
-2.
+4.
Plus
There
three.
you
1 + 3.
There you go.
-1.
Mike.
You're up.
What do you want me to do?
So it does have this glyph on its forehead.
It's what?
A glyph, like a sort of symbol, which pretty much its name in Dwarven. It's like a Dwarven glyph,
Yeah.
which says Colonel Chip. So you need to infuse it with magic. Now it's up to you to wax lyrical about how you would like to infuse this automaton with your magic.
You're just saying words now. You swallowed dictionary and vomiting it back up.
I'm going to walk slowly around it.
Okay.
Stroking it.
You can do that.
Just slap on the forehead.
So you're like
She's turning on
caressing.
West boy.
I'm singing.
You're like caressing the magical weave into its body.
I'm singing my favourite song that everyone applauded me for.
Of course.
What was that again?
I've got no recollection.
On the song.
Yeah, on the old
Oh,
swollen
yeah.
vagina.
No.
Is this what you expected when you invited us to your basement?
Because you're on the piano kill.
13.
13.
It's not what I expected when I was invited to yours.
Nice. Okay. Groovy.
Did it work?
So, choose a colour.
Black. Red.
Okay, there we go. Which made that much more
Red.
difficult for me to like make you visualise. Red, it's fine. So as you're like infusing this creature with the magical weave by stroking it, it
And
both
singing.
and singing, both the eyes and the glyph itself, and a lot of its internals start glowing a soft red, and you can hear the whirring, and one of its hands starts twitching on the bench, like clawing at the surface, and then the other hand to like install these parts, unless you wanted to strap it down after you've like built it, you could retroactively, but it wasn't originally strapped down.
It's alive.
And then the other one starts moving, and then its feet start bending at the knee, and then its eyes light up in a bright red, and it sits bolt upright and starts scanning the room.
I want to rush forward and get in its eye line.
Imprint on it.
Yeah.
If John looked up right now.
So it's got these big, wide, circular eyes, like quite. Now it's all lit up and stood up, sat up, and still having that quite lithe, like form of a skirmisher rather than like the heavy plate of the juggernaut. It kind of gives this quite naive, childlike appearance as it scans the room, and says, "Are you my daddy?"
Flesh
What?
boy looking for his daddy.
Are you my daddy?
Why don't we... So, you can call me Berin, how's that?
Here's Daddy Baron.
Smashing.
Daddy Bear.
Baron.
Oh. Daddy Bear.
Yeah.
What is my mission?
What is his
Come
mission?
with us and help us defeat a Hydrakönig.
I don't know what that is, but
No.
okay.
Well, yeah, don't worry. You'll pick it up as you go along.
We can't find. We can't send Chip into battle.
I'm worried
He's too
about Chip already.
precious.
He's your child.
So it swivels on its butt. It puts its feet down the floor and jumps down, and like its kind of legs give way a little bit as it jumps down, and it kind of stumbles around a little bit, C-3PO style from that terrible film, and starts stumbling around the place, but manages to right itself and kind of finds its feet, and looks like it's ready to follow some orders.
How tall is it?
Yeah.
It's about 6.5, just about shy of 6.5 feet, about his size.
Now, my boy. Let's go.
What is he wearing? Anything? Is he?
Naked flashback.
Well, he's got the armor is like part of its body. I mean, you could put additional armor on top of it if you wished to. If you had any spare laying around that would fit like a medium creature of that size, but it has no like real form or features or even gender really. It's kind of completely like.
We've all got pets now, except for Chad.
Would you
Wow.
mind if I put a cloak around your side? I have a cloak because I acquired one.
I mean, I'm a dwarf and it's 6 foot something. I'm like, yeah, be my guest, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch its name.
It's Colonel Chip.
All right there, Chip, boyfriend, Pip,
Yeah.
Carter,
Pip.
Mike.
Can I? You're slightly naked.
Don't embarrass Chip.
Don't naked shame.
I've been embarrassed.
Chip, I think you should step away from your dad. You're at the wrong height.
Because I acquired one before.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a cloak around Chip's
Sure.
Brown chips.
shoulders.
Shoulders.
Chip
Yeah.
chips.
Okay.
Chips don't lie.
I feel like a superhero.
You look like one, Chip.
And he
I
puts,
want to protect Chip with my entire life.
and it puts his fist out like that and starts running around the room.
So
Oh,
we
I
get
thought
fist
you
bump
were
him.
fist bump, yeah.
Can we all fist bump him?
On the way past, yeah, you definitely could.
Okay.
Let's go.
Did we do it?
Thanks for
Did we
bringing
do
us to your basement.
Thanks for coming. Suddenly burdened with the pressures of fatherhood. I'll look up. Let's, yeah, okay. Should we start heading up?
Yeah, totally can, yeah.
Cool.
Can we bring the extra hands?
I was just about to.
We can't do
If you want
anything
to.
with them.
It's, I mean, ultimately it's up to Baron.
Can we bring the extra hands?
Yeah, go on then.
And also the manual in case he breaks down.
Yeah,
We
I'll
did-
grab that. It looks like I'm literally the only person who can read it. So yeah.
Just in
So
case
stick
I just
that.
stop in the middle of a Hydra battle and read the manual.
Turn it off and on again.
Well, we've got a few hours to
Yeah.
get back,
Yeah,
and we can, it may not even be there. Let's face it.
True.
it might have murdered the town.
Possibly. Who
We
knows?
can hope.
Yeah, so you can pocket the book. You just like sweep the table into your haversack, completely covering this now fully awake half elf that's inside your backpack.
Just covered in arms?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot
So,
that.
like, you just start sweeping cogs and bits of armor plating onto this guy that's hogtied in your
Is
backpack.
he
Frozen, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
she-
he's completely awake.
How big's your
Uh-oh.
backpack?
He's been
Pretty
awake
big.
for about the last 3 hours.
Yeah.
Is it a bag of holding or is it just a backpack?
It's just a backpack with a small half elf and a bunch of limbs.
So,
You know, every day.
I think I have some rope in there too.
Again, we are the good guys.
Can we get going
why
back?
we do
Because
things.
Bongo's waiting for me. We've got to go get,
Of course he
get
is.
Pogo
Yeah.
back to Bongo.
Yeah.
If Chip dies, I'm never going to speak to you again, Baron.
So I'll do my best to keep him alive then.
so
Definitely on you.
so you would know that
So ridiculous.
you've still got
We broke him.
Pogo went into the
Bongo.
Bongo.
Bongo went in, so you got Pogo. An
Very
hour
gentle.
into you going back to Baron's uncle's house, it disappears.
Oh, Pogo.
I'm in a real bed. It's not even a real bed.
Oh,
Is that your only reaction?
we've never cast it before. I thought it last longer.
It's a concentration.
I had more time.
Don't worry, he's with Pongo now. I sort of just look at Mike and be like, help.
It sort of dissipates into these motes of blue light. It's quite beautiful when it sort of like dissipates. It looks very peaceful when Bongo just like fades into the
Don't try and
swamp.
make him feel bad.
It's only fair to something so beautiful to go in such a beautiful way.
If Phantom tries to lick his face, what do you feel it?
Whose face?
Artist's face.
Yep, yeah, totally. Yeah, he's still the real puppy.
Go on, Phantom, lick his face.
Would you like to describe what is going on to like the new member of the group?
A dog, but not dog, is licking his face. Called Phantom.
Yeah. It's a puppy, about yay big, and
Quite
sort of the back
gorgeous.
half of it, it's completely like jet black, and the back half of it is just constantly trailing black smoke off of it. And occasionally when it runs away and just does things in the swamp and then comes back to Mike, occasionally if it gets too far, it just disappears and then will pop back, kind of like Nightcrawler style, next to Mike.
So is this the first time I've seen Phantom?
In an earlier episode,
Yeah.
he died and I got angry, shall we say.
Fair enough. I think
In
it-
a church.
Sure.
Are we outside the house now?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm just going to pop in for... I'm going to grab a couple of things, hang on.
Yeah.
Just to get away from the weird licking. Go and grab some stuff and then just get back out
Sure,
again.
yeah, no worries.
Just to appear with a little satchel.
Can I as
You
well?
lot can
Because I think I see that and I think it's normal, so I send Costas to like to do whatever. he can.
So I think we established is about 1,900 pounds of crocodile.
Yeah.
So it roll an athletics check.
Yeah. Paying premium.
21.
Surprisingly, you are able to like withstand this giant crocodile rearing up on its back legs somehow, counterbalancing itself by its giant tail, and just tries to get its crocodile tongue out the side of its mouth. It can't protrude out the snout, and just tries to sideways lick you as you're like half holding it. It's like you're really straining against like the weight of it. as you're
I've
pushing
got
down
no
on you.
idea what's going on right now.
He's trying to be your
Are
friend.
you enjoying it?
Crocodiles can't lick.
It's having a real difficult time.
Is it like this?
Yeah.
He's trying.
Can I just slap its tongue away?
Don't slap
Yeah.
him.
I
It's just like
panic
like
after-
slapping one of like Chad's forearms. It's that like strong.
He does that all the
Like
time.
a wet forearm.
I run up to Costas and try and push him off because he ate my family.
Can you roll a Constitution saving throw for Costas,
No,
please?
leave him. Sleepy crocodile. 18 plus 5.
Yeah. So you try. What's your strength? Oh yeah, I know what your strength is. You are having like zero effect on trying to push it off Parter.
Get off my friend! Don't eat him.
It looks very much like it's just a.
You two are bullies. Costas is just trying to be your friend.
I
He's
think
trying to
we
make you
should just
feel
go and
better.
get on with this dragon man.
What's Bando doing at this point?
Bando is up in the trees
Okay.
watching
Yeah.
us, upset.
Flying monkey.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Flying monkey.
As you go back out,
Yes.
like the satchel over your shoulder, you just happen to look up, and there's this like little marmoset style monkey sitting on one of the branches with these feathery eagle wings, just peering down with the big eyes,
He's adorable.
looking at everyone.
We have short attention spans. We need pets.
Apparently.
Until they disappear.
Did you bring anyone from Blackmire, by the way? Should have asked before.
Bring anyone?
Any
We've got
friends?
No, Harry or Katrina.
Didn't you make a new friend?
No,
on
they
the
were
way?
dead.
Yeah, but they're all called Harry and Katrina.
And David.
Parter has some water boatman friends and doesn't realise that water boatmen live for about a day. So
So
when
when they
they're
go back
both
out, they're just.
called Harry and Katrina.
Is that who you're referencing?
Yeah. Well, that or your mouse as well.
Well, he's gone missing, hasn't he? He's supposedly at the house somewhere,
Yeah.
but the mayor said, "Don't worry about it."
Oh no, that was in reference to Harry and Katrina,
Oh,
not
right,
in reference to.
And the
You
mouse
did
isn't
say
with me.
the nurse's name. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm afraid.
Should we go?
Are all our pets accounted
Let's
for?
do an animal inventory.
10 pets each, limit. All right. Should we go?
Chip counts for 3 because
Okay.
he's so big.
I kind of got a picture of like Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, like that hulking thing that when you take the helmet off, it is like a little kid underneath.
Oh, Master Blaster.
I've got an image of Robbie Williams when he strips his skin off.
Mm. It's, I
don't-
it's,
I
it's
don't know
really
what-
Attack on Titan.
Yes,
is what
yes,
is the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's it's very sort of like musculature, like but with like almost like an exoskeleton over the top of it, but only in parts. And because it hasn't got the Juggernaut armor on, it's still quite lithe, and very fast looking.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
Flash
With a
boy.
cloak now.
with a cloak,
Yeah.
which probably is a little bit more terrifying. Now it's got this cloak like streaming out the back of it as it's just running from tree to tree and like looking at things, and then pointing at things, and then asking what these things are.
It's too soon for this. Oh,
Yeah. Daddy, what is that up in the tree?
it's it's,
Daddy, what is this?
it's what was up in the
Daddy,
tree.
what is that?
It's, oh god.
Bando flies down and just starts entertaining him.
Okay.
They play tag.
Okay.
There you
Uh,
You're welcome.
he doesn't get it. Like Bando just goes and touches his face and then flies off, and he just watches it, but unblinkingly.
Bando stays with system. They're best friends.
Yeah. Okay.
How far along are we?
You're still outside the house at this point.
Oh, right, okay.
Point in a different
As all, as with all episodes,
So
we spent
fair,
an hour
it is.
doing nothing. So
This is all our
should-
pets.
where's
Right,
my
Swansea.
mouse?
We walk. I think we go towards the dragon.
Okay.
Why would you do
I really
that?
wanted to catch it, I'm sorry.
Um,
So sorry.
so along the way, it gives you a chance now that you've kind of got a little bit more comfortable with each other's company, to chat about anything that you need to chat about on the way there. Give you time to like talk about things if you want to share anything.
We walk in silence. the
Walk in
entire way.
complete silence. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I'm,
It's a very uncomfortable sort of 2.5 hour hike through the swamps.
I'm singing to myself.
Okay, what are you singing?
Again. And
No,
Oh,
I do. I'm providing the backing vocals. A cappella.
nice.
I'm going to ask Baron about his background a little bit. But I'm
What are you
really
asking?
bad at living, so
You're a good negotiator, though.
I think I am. And there's lemon tart on the table. So Baron, see you're a druid.
Yeah. I thought I'd give it a go. Really.
How you finding it?
It's all right. Yeah. I mean, I got to about 90, and I thought, it's about time I grow up a bit.
Become a
Should
father.
find a vocation. didn't think I'd become a father this soon, really. So yeah, I sort of gave up on the mining, went out into the wilderness, trying to become friends with nature. It went. It's weird being a druid. I'm not gonna lie, but it has its perks. Would you like a good berry?
Well, I'll have a good berry, but I prefer some lemon tart if you got a bit. Have you ever had lemon tart?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a dwarf, not a moron. I've had lemon
Glad to hear it. Could really kill for some right now.
Do I have a lemon tart?
I'm just looking
Roll
expectantly.
a survival check.
You find a lemon tart growing in the wild.
Well, it's more of a case of like, have you rationed yourself out accordingly so you would have a little treat on your time in the Lumbergostian?
That's another 17.
Another 17.
Yeah.
I'd say you still have like a well preserved, like in wax and leaves. Keep it all nice and moist, buried at the bottom of your bag in like a leather wrap, all nice and like self-contained.
I'm going to sort of start to hand it over and be like, you can have this if you stop doing that with your face.
We should do that more often.
I'm sorry, I didn't even
No, I
realise I was doing
I
it.
didn't mean to offend you.
We share it. Druid friends for life. Druid friends for life.
Yeah. Okay, you get started, and then I'll have a bit.
Mm.
I'm not very good at sleight of hand, so I will just have to fight it.
In amongst all the awkward chatter, I just want to do I
We're all
learn
listening.
anything about sort of his background that's useful for us to know?
I mean, that's up to
Do
roleplay, really.
Do I find anything out about you? Is there anything you can tell us about the wider world? Before you got captured, what were you doing? Where are you from?
Oh, I've never been captured.
Just made that
But
up.
you're a brother.
Yeah, his brother.
Oh, your
Yeah,
brother.
he's the one in the cage. He's the one in captivity.
Did Parter think that he was in the cage?
Oh, you thought he was in the
He's the one that's out.
I'm the one that's at my liberty. But, no, I just, 90 years, in the mountain, lovely time. Thought I'd go outside, see what that's like. Became a druid. Feel a bit weird going back into the mountain now. It's like they might have, make fun of me because I've been on my gap decade. And, so I just thought I'd check in with my uncle. He's gone. My brother sees, young Chip here, freaks out, gets nicked. Here we are. There's not much to tell.
It's more eventful than my life. It's nothing to see here.
Nothing to see. Nothing of importance that your
Nothing
new
of
best
importance.
friends tell you.
Your uncle?
Yeah.
Where'd you go miss him?
I mean, I don't know. Just,
How long's he
By
been-
definition.
How long's he been on go for?
When's he coming back?
It's been about 30 days, give or take.
Oh, really good level talk.
Yeah.
Should we try find him as well?
Sure. I mean, no, I'm good actually. I had a good berry earlier.
Really good.
You sound like Scooby Doo.
How much is that?
He's gone now.
no, yeah.
Yeah. I've literally got saliva all over my fingers now.
I get secondhand embarrassment from that entire conversation.
So, upon unsuccessfully finding anything out, I'm just going to get distracted.
Okay.
Walk away.
Now, you have a choice at this point. Now you've only just started setting out. You can take the most direct route, which is more often than not slightly trickier to navigate, or you can go the way you came originally, which will take you a little bit longer, but generally speaking, a lot safer.
You know these parts better than us.
Well, I mean, that's tricky up there, but frankly, I'm kind of keen to see what Chip can do.
Yeah.
I think we test him
Let's
before
test
we
him.
take him to the bad
Let's do
dragon.
it.
Now, Colonel Chip,
Here's Daddy Baron.
do you have any concept of a piggyback?
I know what a pack is, but not what a piggy is.
Okay.
Is it that? And then points at Bando.
How dare you?
No.
Is it that?
No.
Is this it? And is
You
it
know
rock?
what? It's quicker if I tell you what it is.
Okay.
Then we enumerate the things it isn't.
Can I wild shape?
You can wild shape into any beast that you've seen before. And there's a list in your notes about what you can wild shape into.
I'll wild shape into a pig.
Okay, you can do that. You use one of your daily wild shapes for this joke.
That's fine.
Yeah, cool.
That's a pig.
I jump on the pig's back.
What size pig do you like? Is it like a boar all the way down to like a piglet? What are you after?
No, I'm going to go boar. I'm
Okay.
going to go boar, because
Yeah.
at least I can do something with it.
Makes sense. No, you want to go regular boar or do you want a giant boar?
Giant boar.
Okay.
Costas is definitely going to chase the ball.
Okay. I mean, it only does things that you command it to.
You know.
So are you? Damn it. Telepathically. Oh no. So you and Costas start Benny Hilling back and forth across the tree line.
I think while we're watching this, I'll just gently explain the concept.
Yeah. I mean, that almost definitely did not help
Yeah.
kind of like put the idea across.
Yeah, there's some unlearning that has to be done, but hopefully, eventually, I'm happy to roll for it. Hopefully, he understands what a piggyback
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it's a fairly simple concept once you sort of like describe like do this.
Great.
He's like,
Okay.
okay.
Because we're going to go the direct route. It's a bit challenging. I know you can manage it. I've seen, you know, you're very lithe and tall. Adjust your cloak, please. And just a thought, if there are any particular obstacles, maybe you could help us over.
Okay. No problem, Daddy Baron.
Yeah.
Hop on my bag.
Okay. I'm going to climb onto my son.
He can't. No, he just goes. He takes a knee and lets you climb up.
He's
Okay.
adorable.
He's so
And,
big.
grabs your legs like that.
Yep.
And so you got your arm around his torso, and he just gets into like a sprinter's position and just goes straight up into the like you. Just separates in the middle and just goes over your shoulder. You start running through the woods. Now, I'd like you and your new son to do perception checks. As you two just like, wow.
Can I get a piggyback
so
ride?
12
What about me?
for me.
The
Do you want me to
crocodile.
roll for chip?
No, I've done it. For
Oh,
him.
you've done. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, 12.
12. How long
Oh.
are you going to be sort of running with him for?
Probably not that long. I feel like I'm not really used to traveling this fast, like with the sky over my head. Certainly,
Yeah.
like I mean, I feel like, you know, on like a say a minecart in the mountain, we got a fair clip on, but you know, this is very different.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you can go for like a short burst.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find out what you see.
Have we gone with them?
No.
Or are we
Um,
literally
We're
just
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 standing
seeing him grab him on his back and go?
Yep.
Well, you're getting chased around.
You actually can climb on a crocodile.
So it's actually difficult for all of you to keep up with Colonel Chip. He kind of like gradually outpaces you as he's running through the forest. You can pretty much tap out any time that you want him to stop.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of try and get him to slow down
Yeah.
a bit.
Okay,
You know,
he can just go down to
trot.
like a
Yeah.
to a canter
Yeah.
with you on his back, no problem. He's also capable of just like lunging, so that it's less of like unstable for you. So you just get a nice like
Yeah, I'll engage the ABS. Yeah, whatever it is. But,
a nice like a gentle sine wave.
oh, that
As
sounds
you're-
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like quite relaxing.
Yeah.
You start feeling your eyes close a little bit. And abruptly he'll stop. And he points out into the swamps. And he says, "What is that?" And there's a small campfire off in the distance.
Oh. Why don't we go have a look? Actually, wait a minute. Is
He's like,
everyone
"Huh?"
sort of catching up?
And he stops.
When I
Yeah.
kind of wait till everyone
Mhm.
is around and be like,
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Off into the woods, probably about 100 to 150 feet away, you can see sort of a very dull campfire.
Tracker pit. Do you have any idea?
I thought you said dragon pit. I was like,
Dragon pit.
interesting.
Tracker
Tracker
pit.
Yes, can I track to see if anyone passed through here in like towards that direction?
Yes.
How many there were?
Yeah, roll with advantage, because you're in your natural environment of the swamp.
7. Am I pressing it to anything?
Your survival.
Survival.
You can roll with
14.
advantage.
14.
14. You can't actually find any tracks
I
in
can't
the
find any
swamp.
tracks.
No, it looks like whatever came through this way. By virtue, maybe it came from the other side, but you've done a thorough check of the immediate area, and whatever's like lit a fire here has covered its tracks up quite successfully. So it's very, it's obviously an intentional thing that they've done to
But
keep
they're
themselves
not
hidden.
trying to hide the campfire, or rather.
Well, it's quite dull and low,
Okay.
and this is off the beaten track as well. This is not the way that you would normally come to traverse this particular area,
Okay.
from Lumbergost to where your uncle's shack is.
I can't seem to see anyone that's passed through, but I'll send Bando ahead and he can scout out for us.
Mhm.
So I tell Bando, just go ahead, keep out of, like, up in the trees, just see if there's anybody around.
Do you want to share your senses with him?
Yes.
Yeah, he's within enough distance for you to be able to do that. So as your giant toad eyes roll back in their sockets, and you can still like take your feet and stand still upright. Bando's flying. You get a kind of like an initial like nauseous feeling because it's flying through the air, but your body is actually quite stationary. So all you get is the sight, but you feel like you're on the ground. It's quite disconcerting. And as it gets closer, you see two figures. One is like wrapped up in quite a torn, old, what used to be probably black, but now is faded to be grey and covered in mud, tattered cloak. And it's got a hood pulled over its face, and it's quite close to the campfire. And the other one is humanoid, medium size, maybe could be elf, half elf, human. And it's wearing quite a dulled intentionally plate armor, sword at its side, standing up, and it looks like it's surveying the area.
As Bando, I'll pick like if there's like an acorn or something in a
Mhm.
tree and throw it like
Okay.
close enough that they'll hear it, but
Yeah.
away from me.
So when it does, the one that's standing, the one that's sitting doesn't seem to react at all. When the one standing like looks over to the acorn, you can see there's like two pinpricks of blue eyes, like glowing blue eyes, as it looks over, and its hand instinctively goes to its hilt, and it takes a few steps forwards and stops, kind of like protecting the other one. Just looks out into the swamp. A few more minutes pass by, and then it returns back, and but it looks to be quite guarded now.
I don't get any sense of like the clothes they're wearing. It's not like they're wealthy or
No, definitely
very
like the one.
raggedy.
Yeah, one that's at the campfire looks decidedly squalid, and the one with the sort of plate armor is. It's difficult to tell. It looks like it's very practical. It looks like quite high quality as well, but not like rich. It's not adorned with any like silver filigree, or it's not like washed in gold or anything like that. It looks like very militaristic.
I'm gonna bring Bando back and I'm gonna tell these guys everything I saw,
Mhm.
but then also that I think there's like a bodyguard protecting someone. They didn't seem to have that many weapons with them, just a couple of personal ones. So it might be worth seeing if they can help.
Maybe it's your uncle.
Maybe it's your uncle.
Neither of them look like dwarf height.
It's not your uncle.
It's probably not my uncle.
Alright. Well, now we know.
I think we should go and see if we can peacefully talk to them and see if they can help.
Peacefully?
Peacefully.
What is the meaning of
Put
that?
your knives away.
I think we should send Potter, and he's a good negotiator.
We should send.
Let's
Potter.
send Potter in on Flesh Boy.
We should not send in Flesh
Damn it, we
Boy.
should not send in Potter. No,
He's a
we
pig.
cannot do
He's a
that.
pig.
Flesh Boy, Parter, and Costa should stay behind
I agree.
because they're all quite threatening.
Costa will eat Potter.
That's like the conundrum one.
You've got a scorpion
Take
and
the
a
scorpion.
So you're gonna eat the pig with the crocodile and the flesh. So everyone except the pets, right?
You call me a
Potter.
I
pet?
feel like
Phantom's coming with
Oh.
us.
The question is, are you still, because you can stay as a pig for as long as you want for this day, how long do you want to stay as a giant boar for?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
You're like snuffling around looking for truffles in the swamp.
He's got an attack, right? It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be in your.
I was just reading pig, and it's like there's nothing.
Yeah, if you look for giant boar,
I've only got giant boy.
Yeah.
What's your strength?
as a giant boar, it's more. Well, different to what it says in part as well.
Then bear with me. Carry on talking, everybody.
Boar with you.
bore with you.
Bore with me.
Terrible.
Sorry,
Are you riding?
I will leave.
I'm not riding
Are we-
giant boar.
Are we gonna sneak
But
up
maybe
on this campfire?
I know we should go and say hello peacefully. I'm not trying to scare them or fight them.
I just mean like
I
we
mean,
make a bunch of noise on the way over. Should we like light a torch or should we throw a rock?
Have you got a white flag?
I can change into one of the kids' orphans
Mhm.
and pretend that I'm lost.
I feel like that's more
That's
terrifying.
definitely way more terrifying.
Just
You
whistle
have
on
a
the way there
twisted
as well.
perception of what's friendly.
I could be lost in the woods and I need the help.
Terrifying.
It's like flitting from tree to tree.
I bring you love.
Maybe we should just go ahead talking. Not make loud noises. Approach from the
Make
front.
loud noises.
Just swing your
Yeah.
arms wildly over your head.
I mean, I could go quite close if I just look like a ball.
You're not going anywhere near them.
He can just wander in. They might kill you and eat you
And
as
then
well.
could come back and be like,
I feel like we should know how to approach people.
We don't. We have no idea.
We've never come across
What
this
if we do?
situation.
Do we scream? Do we run?
Do I do
Barry,
things?
how do you talk to people normally without
Normally.
killing?
Act casual.
How?
I lean
do you
against
know?
a tree.
Yeah, we'll just.
We could just walk over
Wait
there.
until they
and
notice us.
They'll hear us coming. You know, we let them know it's not an ambush, and then when we reckon they can hear us, we yell hello, and then we
Let's
see
try
what
it.
they
I
say.
feel like we should follow your lead.
Let's just give
Chip,
him a
are you
chance.
following this? Because it may come in handy.
I am recording everything.
That's
Everything?
terrifying.
Everything.
Everything.
Even this?
Everything.
What I just said though?
What you just said now. Everything.
And what you say? Are you recording that as well?
I'm recording everything.
What about when you talk about whether you're recording it?
I record that too.
What did you record before you saw Baron?
Your daddy.
I was asleep.
Daddy? What, did you record anything before that?
No, I was asleep.
Did you keep a dream journal?
What is a dream?
Oh,
God.
Hey, do you
Let's
know
walk over there.
do you know any
He's
robot
thinking about shit
dances?
I
already.
would like to dream.
Do you know
I would
any-
dream of robot dancers.
What? Do you know any robot dancers?
No. Teach me a robot dance.
dance.
Am I doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddy, am I doing it?
Yeah, I'm very proud. Now,
Are you watching?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Your
Now
son
I'm-
is so talented.
You've got a book open, you're not looking.
yeah. No, you're doing great.
You're doing-
Now we've covered the social niceties. Should we actually go over there, or
Yeah.
We'll take
Should we
your
all
intro,
robot over?
why not?
no? Walk as normally as you can.
I feel like
Casual.
they might need a perception check after all. Just in case.
I'll just check.
You're fine. They didn't notice.
Only giant boar I can find is under Beast Companion.
Oh, right.
42 hit points. I mean, that'd be lovely.
What? Well, you-
Almost as many as mine.
What's the... Oh, no, I'll find it. Hold on. Giant boar. Oh, yeah. You can't turn into a giant boar.
Oh, am I
It is too high of a challenge rating for you.
Am I just a ball then?
You're just a boar.
Just a ball.
You're a big boar.
Everyone says that.
You're a big baby boar. Yeah, 11 hit points, 11 armor
Cool.
class,
Done.
speed 40 feet.
Yep.
So actually, you could have kept up with Baron and Colonel Chip.
I've been chased by a crocodile.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
So actually, you could keep out of Costas' way because you are faster than Costas.
I'm just accompanying Flesh Boy then.
Okay. Who's going? Hands up. Who's
I think
going?
it's us 4. Going.
5.
Is Flesh Boy
5,
going?
sorry, yeah.
Um,
I think Flesh Boy should stay
No,
behind.
we
Costas
yeah, we'll
comes
leave.
after him.
Colonel staying behind.
Stay with him.
Costas
Costas
staying
is staying
behind.
behind.
Don't teach him anything.
Bando staying behind. Bando's going.
Yeah.
Phantom.
I'm staying with Flush Boy.
Oh, you're staying Flash Boy, and so
Stroking his
Phantom.
face.
He strokes your face.
It's
I feel like I'm cheating on Count Fagan.
You are. Hussy. It's your new hair.
Yeah, so you start approaching. When you get within sort of about 60 to 80 feet, you do notice that the one that's standing goes on high alert. The one that's hunched over to the fire doesn't seem to react at all. He puts his hand up like this as to stop you.
Sort of, this is the bit where we stop walking.
I remember that you...
He's making a request. We're going to comply with it.
Okay.
So just stop walking, and let hello.
High five him.
He's 60 foot away. Give or
Air
take.
5.
Hey, what are you doing?
I've stopped walking.
Okay, like completely.
I'm taking him really seriously.
Okay. What have you got in your hand?
Midway through the animation.
Okay, yeah, fun. It doesn't say anything, but sort of keeps his hand up. It's got a helmet on as well, so it's very difficult for you to see. It's one of those helmets that goes around its mouth, but still leaves the majority of it like nose, eyes
Wait,
open.
does he look familiar to us?
No.
Shave his head
Blue
in.
eyes.
Yeah,
I
it
just
is
wondered
got.
the helmet man that we met last time in the podcast.
Oh, yeah, they had like a skull cap
Right.
on,
Okay.
so you can see that all of his face really. Yeah, he doesn't say anything, but he's got these like these glowing blue eyes.
This doesn't sound right. Your reindeer's dropped. By the way.
We just wanted to make sure you didn't need
Suck
anything.
my hair.
Are you comfortable out here? Are you lost?
When you say "Are you comfortable out here?" it starts to nod, and then when you say "Are you lost?" it stops nodding.
You're not lost.
It's really difficult because
Difficult questions.
he just gives you a thumbs up.
Okay.
I just butt in with, there's a giant dragon and we need your help.
Shrugs.
Please. We'll help you.
It cocks his head.
Can I do
And
divine
for-
sense?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah,
I don't
okay. Yeah, go for it.
Do I have a roll?
Oh, what is the
actually?
distance on it?
Oh,
You don't roll anything,
Did
no.
you not say no?
It's double negative there.
I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Does anybody know what causes glowy blue eyes? Like, is that a race? Is that a
White Walker.
60 feet.
Oh, of course.
60 feet. So you have to
It's been influenced.
tentatively approach like another 5 or so
I
feet.
can do that.
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah,
calmly.
okay. The helmet sort of like turns to you, like its eyes on you as you start like walking forward a little bit more. But you're now within range. FYI, does your divine sense, does it,
do you want me to
Do-
read it out?
well, do you have to like gesticulate in any kind of way?
No, it just
Or
says,
verbalize it?
as an action you can detect good and evil. Until the end of your next turn, you can sense anything affected by the hollow spell or know the location of any celestial fiend undead within 60 feet.
Oh.
Oh no!
Oh.
Slight smirk.
Huh.
Don't do
You
it.
detect the 2 undead creatures
We agreed
right
to
in front of you.
Oh.
Undead
Wait,
doesn't mean bad. Right.
It's
How
not
many?
good
Are
though,
there
is
two
it?
creatures over there?
Yeah.
It's one bodyguard and one.
Yeah.
If they're behind
Thing.
total
Spotty
cover, it doesn't
yellow.
work.
They are not. They're right in front of you. Yeah. But they ping undead.
Kill 'em.
They might be bad guys. They're definitely not alive.
Some people
What?
would
That's
say
your
that we were
definition
bad
of
guys.
good.
They're not attacking us
True.
yet.
It's not good though, is it?
We're not allowed.
I don't know much about this
Did you
world, but
stay?
I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be alive to be in it. As a rule.
Do you
Speak to the dead.
Interestingly, though, it doesn't. They don't. Neither of them ping evil.
Okay.
Just dead.
Just dead.
Just undead.
We can't help
Can
you.
I-
Dead.
So she already stepped forward.
Yeah.
And
By
it didn't do
5.
anything.
Within like 60 feet, it watched her, but as she only needed to sort of step up like
I'm
5
still
feet,
quite far away.
it's cautious, but doesn't do anything other than hold its ground, still keeping its hand up.
I think we should
Well-
cautiously walk closer, but like
But
not
like that.
holding
He
things.
seems to be interested when I said that we could help him. So should we try and find out
Yeah, sure.
if we can?
Yeah.
They're not attacking us, so I don't think we should kill it necessarily.
This is new,
Um,
guys. Keep it.
You look like you guys could do with some help. We can help you.
He puts his hand up again and puts his other hand on the hilt of his sword.
Don't hurt us. We want to help you.
Roll a persuasion check for me, please.
I don't think he wants to be helped.
Oh.
3.
Yeah, he like pulls only about sort of 4 inches of blade out of the sheath, but enough to like for it to glint. So you know, like he's serious about the whole thing.
Are you trying to protect someone?
Roll insight check, actually.
can you hear her whisper from
60
feet away?
16.
16. You can detect like the way when you said, "Are you protecting someone, or do you need help?" And like the way he looked down, or she, or it, like you're not quite sure what this kind of relationship is, but it definitely looks like this thing is guarding this other hooded thing. They're both undead, so it's very difficult to like ascertain what kind of like relationship they have or this bond between the two of them. But it definitely looks like there's something there.
Does anyone speak? He's not spoken yet, so we don't even know what language.
It definitely understands you, though.
You're right.
Yeah, it's been responding like directly to your questions.
Can you speak to us? Tell us how
It
to help
nods. Yes, it says it can speak.
Could you tell us how we could help you?
It looks at you and just goes, and just does that.
What?
Turn around.
Me turn around.
Or just like just all of you, it's like pointing gestures to all of you, points out of the forest.
They don't seem to want our help.
But we might need this.
Okay, what?
You're a ball right
Do
now.
I can cast a message at them,
Yeah, you could.
but I don't know what to tell them.
I'm a bee.
But they
Yeah, I'm a bee.
They
Trust them.
Trust these people.
Yeah, but do they? If,
Don't
well, they
say
do.
anything about bees.
It's me, Kawan, God.
Or sex.
I brought you a flesh boy.
That's your Sunday's talking about that. You can put up with that.
I think we could bring Flashboy forward.
Yeah.
They're undead, so they might appreciate seeing more undead meat.
Well, yours is a construct versus an undead.
Yeah.
Can I just say, we know you're undead. We're cool with it. If that's why you're not speaking.
I think Flesh Boy.
It shakes its head.
Okay. You know we're cool, right?
Shrugs.
Okay. There's no game through.
Did he say we're cool?
You sound like
He
Dr.
said- He said shut.
Daddy's cool.
Well, I think you've had enough combo with it. Roll a persuasion check as well.
Okay.
Oh
Okay,
man.
3 plus
We're so bad.
8.
3 plus 8.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 11.
11.
Still fails.
Okay, it does resheath the sword,
Okay. It doesn't.
and then lets go of the hilt,
Oh. See? That's
but stands in front of the hooded
okay.
creature.
We don't want to hurt whatever's under that hood.
Your friend.
So would you be okay with us approaching if under the assumption that we're going to help you?
Okay, so it points at the group at large, and then does this.
2 of you. 2. It's going.
Who would you want to help? Why don't you choose?
It shakes its head and just points at you and goes 2.
Gave you the option. Anyone volunteering?
Is it
Actually,
2 out
no, I
of 4?
suppose
or
actually
2
it
out of
does-
everybody?
It does shake its head, but then does point at here, and then does that.
Okay, who wants to come?
I feel like he doesn't like me, so
He wants you to turn around.
he wants to turn
It's
around.
got to be Johnny.
You should probably go.
Sorry, Berin.
Would you like to come speak to these dead people? with
Like's
me?
a strong word. Let's get this on.
We approach.
Okay. So as you approach, you can see that it's like a very pale face. It looks like it was either, it could have been half elf or it could have been human underneath the visor, but it is like sunken and drawn, but has these brilliant glowing blue eyes. And as you approach, it goes, "Stop."
How close are we?
About 10 feet away
Okay.
from it.
So we can see it a bit better.
Yeah.
I'm Aya, and this is my new friend Baron.
Aye.
We're good at helping people. How can we help you?
My name is Karthak.
Karthak. Oh, that's a lovely name. How did you come to be undead?
Do you hang out in woods with your cloaked friend much? How did you come to be undead?
I think that's a
Um,
normal question, but I don't know much about anything.
I died.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fair.
That adds up, actually.
It stands to
I-
reason.
I don't need to do an insight check.
I possessed this body you see now.
That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad
Um,
story.
What do you want? I mean, I don't mean to be. I mean, what are you trying to do in general? How
Nailing it.
busy?
Do you have any
Hold
hobbies?
that
Do you
on.
know what I
What's your
mean? You know, what are you up to?
He puts his hand on the shoulder of the cloaked figure. He twitches slightly when he does that to the touch, as if he wasn't expecting. Like jumps a little bit. and says, "I am here to aid my friend Morton."
Alright. And what does Morton want?
To kill the one that killed him and his family.
What? Okay, right. We may be on something here. Was he killed by a massive, 5-headed Hydrakönig?
No, by a man.
Oh.
What does this man look like?
Yeah, tell us about the man.
How many heads did he have?
It was worth a go.
Good job.
Okay.
Good odds.
This man was, at the time, a user of natural magic. He killed my companion here and his family and many of their compatriots. He betrayed him. Since then, Morton has not been able to find rest and will not be able to rest until he is dead. We are in search of this creature in these lands somewhere.
Whereabouts did you die? I love whispering as well. So, I think that's why we like each other.
My vocal cords have since shriveled. It is not my choice.
Me too.
Cool.
I ship Aya and Karthak.
Yes, it is a creature that lives in these woods.
A creature. I thought it was a man.
It was. Your DM misspoke. I didn't mean to reveal a specific gender, but it is more a person, for sure.
It's very open-handed of you, given it's a murderer.
This foul, insidious creature occupies these lands, dealing out death and judgment as it sees fit.
Do you know why?
For its own amusement, I think.
Sounds like an evil.
What sort of thing is it?
Do you want to ask what he looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. Why is this person? I think I already did. What does this person look like?
The years previous, when Morton was alive, it took upon the visage of a beautiful woman.
And do you know if it can change its visage?
I believe, from the stories that we have heard since we are tracking it, it looks much older now.
Do you know if it ever wears a hat and sweeps floors?
Those are very specific questions that I have no knowledge of, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's fair.
The whole vengeance finding peace thing. Am I to understand that the minute Morton here gains his revenge, he'll just topple over and be, dead?
Correct.
Okay. In that case, us first, basically. We'll help you get your revenge. But the problem is we're on our way to kill something as well. And, basically, if we do yours first, then it's not really fair because you won't be around to help us.
That's a good point.
That's fair.
That's very reasonable.
He's the negotiator we've needed all along.
Yeah, that's what we've been missing.
Why don't you roll a persuasion check?
All right. That's a 14.
Nice. It looks to Morton, still has its gauntleted hand on its shoulder, and Morton gives an almost imperceptible nod.
That's very kind of you. Let's do it.
There is an awkward question I must ask.
You can ask us anything.
Yep.
Though my friend here cannot die by any mortal blade, this body can. And I need to inhabit something if it does fall in battle. Are you guys cool with that? Just asking, just feeling the room out a little bit.
How long will you inhabit on
A
it?
flesh boy. You can just a
Until I
flesh
can
boy.
find an appropriate, like a creature
Chuck
to
him into flesh
re-inhabit.
boy.
Can we steer you into a
Flesh boy's become
particular
his own person
vis-
now,
vessel?
If it's fighting worthy, then yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of corpses
Yeah.
where we're going, actually.
Yeah,
You don't have to offer your son.
Yeah.
Also,
It needs to
We
be.
have so much going on.
this is a temporary deal,
It needs
right?
to be alive
It's a temporary deal,
for me
right?
to possess.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hang on. You've got like an elf just packed in your backpack anyway.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it's true.
You
got
kept
this
it alive.
This portable empty vessel. whatever it is, like.
I
He
guess.
deserves it.
I was gonna save him for later.
We'll find you something. Yeah.
How about 7-hoofed dragons? Does that sound nice? I'm not there.
I do have restrictions on the size of creatures I can inhabit.
We'll
Let's be
find.
humanoid
We'll
for
find a
once.
way.
Let's put him in one of the arms.
It's a temporary deal, though, right?
Yes,
Yes.
until I find something else to jump into.
We're all like that. Don't worry.
Then lead the way.
Yeah. Would you like to meet our other friends?
Yes.
Okay.
Just before we go, I want to thank you for trusting us. I really feel like this might be cathartic for you.
We shall see. And so they follow you back to rejoin the rest of your companions, and you make your way to Lumbergost. And we will leave the episode there.
With our 2 undead
Christmas.
friends.
Indeed.
Battle time next time.
So I hope you all enjoyed this very festive and Christmas storyline so far.
Very festive.
Of mechanical boys and wispy people in the dark. So I'd like to thank my players Ellie, Josh, Annie, Johnny, Khalil, and Alice. If you'd like to plug your social media, now is an amazing time to do so.
At Ellibab.
At MCM Josh.
At Annie_Squirrel.
At John Air, JOHNNEH.
At Chad the green-nosed lizard has a very greasy nose, and if you ever saw him, you would surely think he's swole.
I think that's too long for a handle.
No, that's it. It's 280 characters. I measured it.
Oh, shit.
Is it even ALUCY?
And I'm at MCM_Tim. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Just remember, if you don't know what to do, just roll over and die.
Merry Christmas!
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
That was pretty good.
You
That was your
actually
best
sung
one.
it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I went to a home.